Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
This is your proud host of the Landlord Diaries, Kelly Bailey, midterm enthusiast and host in the Austin, Texas, and Belton area.
And hello, everyone. I am Katie. I am with the Furnished Finder team here joining Kelly. Today we have Robert, and Robert is like a systems magician. He has, just like optimized and figured out so many amazing ways to make the most out of rentals. So much so that is his company now. It's inspiring, and it makes me just want to like go get to work, honestly. So it was so great to talk to him. I hope everyone enjoys this episode. You are absolutely going to have some tips to take away from it. Please also remember that our podcast is brought to you by Furnished Finder. Furnished Finder is the go-to place for everything midterm rentals. So listing your property, finding a property to stay at, all midterm rentals, the whole site. And it is all booking fee free. Try saying that 10 times, but there are no booking fees on the platform, right? So wherever you go, the price you see is what you're going to get, which in this days is pretty great.
Hey guys, we have Robert Nunez with us today, the president and founder of Co-Host Expert Company, a premier management company for corporate and short-term rentals that provide real peace of mind passive income. For property owners nationwide, Robert has a passion for systems, automation, ease of accessibility, and growth, which in some conversions has produced up to 40% higher revenue after applying his systems. If you would like to connect with Robert's team, go to cohostexpert.com. Robert, we feel so privileged to have you with us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll jump into the first question. You have been a part of so many great companies. So why don't you give us a background of who you are and what has led you to who you are today?
In reference to this space, I've been in the entrepreneur space for 26 years now. Started my first business in 1996, which was a celebrity travel company out of New York called Flights Club. That taught me to connect celebrity travel, sports travel, and fashion travel with our providers, the airlines, and so forth. So that was my love for the travel industry. Then at the same time, we're a real estate family, just simply meaning that our mom came and bought the worst house in the worst neighborhood, and fixed it and then sold it and did the same thing over and over and over. So we grew up around real estate. It's just been something in our DNA or implanted by them, right? And down the line, you connect real estate and travel and you put them together and you really have corporate and short-term rental. So,
right.
When I think back of this portion of my journey, I realized that it was kind of already aligning itself without me even knowing it until when I look back now. Last corporate job I held was in 1996. It's the last time I had an employer, right? Yeah, when I think about it, but that doesn't mean. I've given up 40 hours for 100 hours work, most of my life. But it's just a different 100 hours work. It's more fulfilling. And who I am in reference to when I connected to the business portion of it, it just allows me to create great companies and services that actually create something bigger than me, which is the teams of people that work in our businesses, and that really makes an impact. I'm a father of two, brother of two lovely sisters, uncle of three nieces and nephews, and I'm just very, man of God, just very grateful to be here to make an impact on what we do, at least on my part on what I do on this journey, and share share my successes, which normally come from my challenges, right? And then, hopefully what we've gone through helps somebody else down the line a little bit easier on their journey. Not too easy. You want to take some bumps. Bumps are good. Bumps are good, right? Yeah. So you want to take a couple of bumps, but definitely, we all can elevate each other and grow on this journey. And I'm also part of I'm the president of a mastermind group called Men of Means, which is 8 high-level, high-achieving CEOs and business owners. And our method is just to, rise with the tide with each other. So we all bounce off of each other, we grow, and then, it's been up 1 year now running. So I'm very excited about that.
That's great.
I love that. And I think our mentality and everything that we try to do definitely reflects the rising tide, right? The concept of the rising tide lifts all boats, and like, let's all be in this together. Let's all help each other out. There's plenty out there for everyone, especially in the real estate world. There's always room for growth, right? There's not a ceiling. You can always be better. You can always be learning. So I love to hear that. I have a question for you, which is, tell me about your company. What do you guys do differently? What makes you stand out from the crowd? Because I can tell already that like you like to do things in an incredible and amazing way. And like, I'd love to hear how you have applied that to your company and what kind of results it's given you.
Okay. Well, thank you. If we're all right. So yeah, that was very nice. Thank you. I think we lead with, well, I'm in traditional sales. Like I enjoy sales. I genuinely enjoy sales. And when we had the Flights Club travel agency, we picked up a lot of clients and we had to build relationships. And my friend Dennis Razaya, which was the other co-founder of Flights Club in the 90s, he ran the LA office, I ran New York. He said to me, Robbie, as he's calling, he said, Robbie, the deals aren't made in the office. They're made at the bar. Or deals aren't made at the office, they're made somewhere else. But bottom line is they're not made at the office. So we spent a lot of time courting, addressing, building relationships with people who then wound up doing business with us. And then, people do business with people they like. That's always been a philosophy of mine. So, we try to lead with relationships. Now, in a world now where sometimes you're dealing with an avatar online, it's kind of hard, to build that relationship. But if you're interested in having a relationship with your clients, communication, those relationships can prove to be very fruitful. And doesn't mean you're going to all of them. Some clients don't want to have a relationship. They just want it black and white. This is what we want, and that's fine. You give them that. But I think that, business owners and people that are in business need to understand that there's somebody on the side of cutting that check or swiping that card or hitting click to pay. So, you want to have some type of a connection. So that's one of the reasons I think we stand out. We want to know what our clients, our travelers are looking for and what they're going through and how, and we ask them, what can we do to make this journey better for you? What do you need? Like, what do we need to close this deal? What do you need to close that pain point? And then we just try to go on and be on the call of duty to provide that service for them. And being in real estate for so many years, so if I narrowed it down a little bit more, I'm an owner. So I'm a real estate owner myself. So I know the pain point of eviction and no rents being collected and damaged properties. And knowing that pain, I know I talk owner. That's what we say here. Like, he talks owner. Like, I'm an owner, so we know how to speak owner, knows how to speak owner. And so that's why it's easy for us to pick up owners and get buildings turned over to us to convert them into a portfolio, because I already know the pain points because I went through them myself. And then, that helps us assure a level of comfort, and so we can build with each other.
So tell us in a nutshell what your company is the expert at, right? Like, so all these landlords are listening. What would they be able to rely on you or like add you to their team to do for their property?
It's a great question. No, that's the first time. It's a really good question. Well,
like, are you marketing it? Are you booking it? Are you turning it over? Are you optimizing it? Like, where do I bring Robert in to make me a better landlord?
So you can, if you're a landlord with traditional rentals, if you're on the traditional rental side, we're going to help you obtain the same revenue that you're generating with your rent, maybe even more, and eliminate the fear of eviction. damages, missing month's rent's pay, and increasing your revenue. Even, for example, if you're an owner and you own a building, and let's say it's a 12 unit, 24 unit, our numbers on what we make on our reservations through our clients or what we'll book the building at are so much higher than traditional market rents in most parts of the country, except with the exception of San Francisco, New York, which is an anomaly, some of Miami.
Right.
Right, yeah. We will help increase those numbers, which then you go to the bank, so when you do your refinance, your numbers even look better. So you wind up even getting more money back at the table because your ROI is so much higher. If you're an operator in the short-term and corporate rental space, then we help streamline, because I know that there's a lot of owners that are missing the gap and missing opportunities on where they can get their clients from, how to continue, how to add markup, how to add little value adds to increase your bottom line. So, we we have a board here. It's split in half. I'm looking right at it, and it says add-ons and cut costs. So I challenged my team to find X amount in add-ons value in the next 60 days and X amount of cost cutting. And if you add that up over a month, over a year, it's a big number. So, that's one thing we focus on. We call that solutions to increase. Like, how do we find solutions to make more out of what you currently have? And let me touch on that. That just opened something. In 2006 and 7, when the recession hit, I had about 13 buildings under construction.
That's a
and
lot.
Then the bank said no. Yeah, I didn't know it was a lot till they tell you no more money, right? And so I was just flowing. Like, I was just flowing. We were buying, flipping, selling, and then the bank said, hey, we're not giving out no more loans when there's a recession going on. So now you have 13 vacant buildings under construction with 13 working. I had to stop and say, how do I make more out of what I already have right now? And I had to really tighten my belt. And not just tighten the belt, but I had to figure out where there was more revenue in my existing business just to stay afloat. And then that lesson has actually stood with me since then. So in every business model, many of these operators and owners, they're focusing so much on the reservation, getting the money in, they're bleeding and they don't even know if they're bleeding. Or they're missing. And bleeding doesn't mean it's a loss, just like you're not. It also means that you're letting high revenues go right out the window.
Did you keep all 13?
No, we gave some back.
Did you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so that was one of those lessons learned.
Yeah. That was a challenge. That was a painful lesson. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's such an important lesson though, like for all business owners of every type, is like, okay, at some point, you hit the hiccup and it's like, okay, what do I do with X? How do I make the most out of X? And how do I really optimize that? And you're right. Those lessons are probably how you got to where you are today. Okay. So let's say
real fast. Can I ask one thing with that?
Yep.
So, we just, you hear everywhere right now the big fear of recession. So having gone through a recession, having taken some hits from a recession, what advice would you give other landlords on Furnished Finder right now with the loom and talk of recession?
Don't watch the news. And what I mean by that is, don't be oblivious to the information of what's going on around the world, but be mindful to the deliverer of the message. Because, there's an agenda behind people delivering a message. And if you start watching the news and you feed in, you're going to think, act, and conduct your business based on the information you take in. And if all the information you're taking in is, doom and gloom, you're going to start cutting corners and operating from a lack perspective and mentality. So you've been doing well in business, but now you hear this news is coming, then you start acting like the news that's coming. And then now you contribute to the problem that's coming. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to stop it, one individual. But if you start acting in recession mode, then you're going to fit into the message that's being given.
Okay.
And again, it doesn't mean be oblivious, but conduct your business as it's been working for you successfully, and then monitor what's going on, but not from a fear perspective. Because if you do things from a fear perspective or lack, you move differently. And then individuals like ourselves will come right by and take what's in front of you. Because during that recession, it was a little bit challenging, but as we came out of it, when COVID hit, which was a semi blip session. Right? It was a blip session, right? A blip session. Okay. But it was a recession in the travel industry for a little window. And we wound up having, I think I told you in the last conversation, 17 months of straight growth during COVID because we sat still, and when everybody was running in one direction, we started scooping up real estate and inventory because everybody thought the world was on fire, which kind of a little bit was, but
a little bit.
Yeah.
This is really interesting because this is something that I've definitely realized, in my real estate journey as well, is there's two perspectives on things, right? Anytime something shifts, there's the panic and the craziness, or there's the business thinker of how do I make this work, right? How do I make this investment? My husband and I have a investment property right by Fort Myers, and Hurricane Ian devastated that area. Now, thank God. Yeah, thank God our property is still standing. But everyone I've talked to, from our team down there to agents and everyone, they fall in two very oppositional buckets. One is a panic and oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What do we do? And the other is a strategic type of approach, right? Like, okay, let's think about how this is going to affect the market. Let's think about rebuilding time. Let's think about what's the need going to be here. How do we adapt to that? How do we change? How do we, make this work for us? And it's very black or white. Like, I have not discovered anyone kind of in the middle. So I think that's really interesting that you're saying that, because I think it's incredibly beneficial and just so imperative to have your mind in the right bucket, if you will.
And that's very true. I hope, and you're going to break through this because it seems like your mindset and your husband's mindset is in the right direction. The reason it's black and white is because there is no other choice. Right. It's either you're going to panic and sink, and the boat's already taking water, right? No pun intended. Or you're going to come out of it. And even if you panic, people are still going to come out of it, right? We panicked during COVID, we came out. We panicked during the last recession, we came out. So human beings and human civilization has always shown a high level of resilience to come out of it. The question is, are you going to be trampled as people are coming out of it? Or are you going to be, unfortunately or fortunately, one of the ones trampling? Because not say that you want to step on people, but everybody's going for the door, right. And you have to figure out, where am I going to position myself in the event of what just happened? How do I position myself to make the best out of a critical situation? Or how do I just sit down and it's hard. Some people lose everything. People lost loved ones in COVID. People lost businesses in the recessions. People lost everything they've ever had during this Hurricane Ian, right? So it is hard, but you have to make a decision.
Yep.
And in your case,
the time will pass no matter what you do.
Yeah. In your case, exactly. You take those challenges, you take some hits at times, and then you turn around and you re-strategize and build an even stronger business. So I love that. And I want to circle back to your company. One thing that I read on your website that I found was really, really cool is you advertise to property owners, hey, you want peace of mind that you have 100% of your inventory rented, then just lease your entire floor or your entire complex to my company, or your individual properties. And then I saw you even advertise, we'll lease your land properties to create these glamping experiences. So tell us about that part of your business and how that works.
Yes, this is an amazing industry that we're in, and people need space to live. Sometimes I don't think that we're in the short-term or corporate rental space. I think we're in the need and space rental space, because, if you have a piece of real estate, there's going to be a need for it somewhere, so we assure owners, because we know the market and we have a good sales team and we're out there and we're constantly pounding the pavement to bring in new business. We assure owners that they're going to meet their number with us, so they can deal. So we tell them, listen, we have a product called the ResiTel, which is a residential hotel. That is basically, we convert an entire multi-unit building into corporate apartments, and then you can use the corporate apartments for a plethora of different products within the rental space: short-term rental, mid-term rental, work from home, nurses and travel, like from Furnished Finder. So just give me the doors and the property and we're going to put it to work. And then, we assure the owners, you could deal with like one building we have here has 11 units. We say 9 units. We say you can either get one check, one owner, one conversation, one management to rep conversation, or you could deal with 11 people. And a lot of owners prefer that. Now, I've seen how some people have said, well, you're reducing inventory for certain markets and areas. Yeah, that could be the case, but this is the business that we're in. Because at the same time that you're saying that, I'm also providing inventory for another market of individuals as well. So it's a flip side to the coin. But we do take, we'll take everything. We'll take the properties that they offer us. They'll deal with one management company. They'll deal with one check, one payment. Our properties look better when we have them than when the owners gave it to us.
Right.
Because we have to meet a high level of quality for the person checking in.
And you cannot say that about all management companies. That's
right.
Sure.
Actually, interesting. That's actually true. We've actually invested into a lot of with our owners because it's not a tenant-owner relationship. We're business partners now. Like we're going to care for your property and take care of it during the duration of this extended lease. And you're going to make sure that you respond when it's needed. But if little things happen, we have maintenance people. Like my cleaning crew, not only are they cleaners, but they do all the little things that owners get phone calls about from their tenants. We handle it because we're there. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to take on the maintenance responsibility, but we will change the bulbs, the doorknobs, and all those types because we have guests coming. So one owner started with one apartment, and now we have 7 buildings entirely.
Wow.
He doesn't even want to rent anymore. He's like, we get told, hey, somebody just moved.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to transition into our landlord logistics. As we jump into it, Robert is the man of systems. He has built his company not because he just rolls with it. He has systems in place for everything, and that's really what we want to hone in on this episode. I'm really excited to dive into this section. And so the question from a previous episode is about insurance. When you're working with insurance on multiple levels from a corporate housing or an arbitrage type situation, how does it work? Because you've got the owner needs insurance. Does the management company need insurance and the renter? So how do you do it for your company?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great timing on the question too, because we're actually adding a new type of service. So we have a company that we work with called Jacob Street, and they provide for the corporate travelers, not short term, but for corporate travelers, 30, 60, 90 days. They provide a policy which is like $1, $2 a day for the reservation that covers. So then the operators can actually, use this to cover themselves for the guests during the guest stay. And if somebody's interested, let me know. I know the owner directly. I'll put you in contact with her. Great person. Has been in the insurance industry 20 years. Then we're also now exploring another service where we have kind of like an insurance waiver. So we'll take a less of an amount under insurance, but we have a company that backs us that they'll cover an X amount of the coverage for a nominal amount. So the bottom line is you're going to need insurance. We've had people say, hey, something happened. I slipped, I fell, whatever. It's happened. It's a litigious country. You have to expect that if you're in business, things are going to happen. And you'd rather have insurance and not need it than need it and not have it. It's an old cliche, but it's very true. And the insurance is paid by your clients.
So that insurance, it's paid by your clients. So the property owner is covering the property, and then do you still need renter's insurance?
Well, you can have renter's insurance for the person. Remember, the renter's insurance, most of the stuff is yours, right? Because you're giving them furnishing. They may have some personal belongings. You also want to include liability insurance in there, for the guests that are coming and going. Once guests know that you have a lot of properties, you become a target.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's part of the game. And not just that, but you want to do the right thing. If something happens, you want to be covered. You don't want to be an out-of-pocket expense. The reason I think a lot of landlords and operators don't have insurance is they just don't know where to look for it. They just don't know where to look for it, or they don't know the type of products that they can go after. Like, there's another company that we're using that's coming from Europe, that they're from the short-term rental industry, and they have a product specifically for this market, which is amazing. And I was with the owner of that company a couple of weeks ago at a conference, and we were taking like this. There was like this river cruise, right, for business owners, and he was telling me what he got, and I was like, more people need to use this. Like, so they're called Super Hog, and they're great. So people should just really look into having insurance.
Okay, thank you. That's great. You're up, Katie. What do you want to know systems wise?
I'm in marketing, so I want to know all about marketing. I want to know, what systems do you use for your marketing? How do you fill those spaces? How do you fill the doors? What is the secret marketing system that you employ?
Well, part of the secret marketing system is with our consulting. So yeah, I know they're gonna look me up. But the other part is traditional sales. You see, you can break up the. So I should do it in my hand. You could break up the reservation pie, like if it was a slice of pizza, for example, right? 8 slices. The majority of operators now have a 70-80% dependency on a traditional OTAs, Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, right? And then their other 20% will be covered by the person who says, hey, I want to book once they're there and stay a little longer. Their whole business model is based on somebody else bringing you a client. That's okay, but you're at the mercy of somebody else's marketing. So, and if something ever happens, if they take a hit, then you're taking a hit. So we operate a little bit differently, right? So what we do is we try to have maybe 30-40% from the OTAs. They're bringing in the people because they do a good job at marketing and providing a service to the end user. They're Brian's company, Furnished Finder. They're amazing. This is what they do. Nurses and doctors know how to find them. Now, there's more construction people and engineers going on it. They know how to get to that audience. So you do want to take that business that's coming in, but then you also have to create other slices of the pie. So for example, we're going to use the OTAs, might be 2 or 3 slices of an 8-slice pizza. Maybe even 4, but let's just say 3. Then we're going to go to companies like Furnished Finder, who are going to generate the lead, but then our sales team has to close the lead. That's another 2 slices, right? And then you're going to let's use Philadelphia as an example. So you should go to the convention center and ask them to give you the list of all the events that are coming up in the next 12 to 18 months. And then reach out to the organizers of these conventions who have to provide housing for their clients and say, hi, I'm an operator. We have 10 units here. Here's a link to our website, which means you need to have a direct booking website. And if you don't, you're super behind the curve, but it's not that hard. And then you tell them, hey, we provide housing for your area, right? And these are our properties. But if you contact us directly, we might be able to give you a preferred rate. So now if you're in a major city that has 140 events coming, and let's just say they have 100 people at an event, you have 14,000 guests that are coming in that potentially now, not only 14,000 guests, but you now have all these guests, but you're speaking to the people who refer these guests where to stay.
That's great advice. I hadn't thought about that.
Yes, right. So the convention centers are one. You want the sports teams, everybody comes down for the sports, to the major city for the games during football season. So you put little pieces of information inside your rentals that say, hey, if you're a fan and you're coming back, reach out to us directly. We'll be more than happy to help you. We may even assist you with some catering. If you book with us, if somebody somebody stood at your place you're in Denver, right? So somebody comes to a Broncos game and you say, hey, you're a Broncos fan. If you come back, we'll offer you a catering platter free if you book directly with us. Now they book directly, but now they didn't go to another site and look at all the choices. See, it's not just staying with you, it's helping your competitor from their visual as well. And then they come back and then they build a relationship. And guess what? Now you become the family place every year when the Broncos are playing.
Right.
Little. Now some people think that those little things, it's too far. Nah, every seed.
And that's just one slice of your pie that you were saying too. It's like your pie is full in all these different angles. So what size is your sales team?
4.
Okay.
And 2 virtual, 2 live. And their job is their commission and performance based.
Okay.
Yeah. And their job is to find out everything that's happening in the next 12 to 18 months. And then we go after these companies. Employers, there's employers that are opening up in that are actually actively in your market. So there may be like a major factory and employer. You tell them, listen, when your clients are coming, why don't you just have a corporate apartment? That doesn't mean that they're locked into a lease, but they know that this place is available. If available, they can use this place for their clients. And when your clients come, sure, make a request. We'll have some niceties for them because you want to close that client. So you have to become a business person. But what most people do is they just sit back and say, well, listen, we'll put it online. And if they like it, they'll book. And if they don't, they don't. That's all. That's fine and dandy. But there's a difference between an operator here and an operator there.
That makes sense. All right. So if we have all these different moving parts and all these different websites, we got to talk calendar. So how do you make sure your calendars all work together?
I know that Brian from Furnished Finder should be watching this. Brian, you need to be synced with Hostfully, with David Jacoby. I know you guys chit-chatted online somehow. I think they'll post of mine. Other than that link, we're on a PMS called Hostfully, which allows us, which syncs our calendars, including our direct booking, and which we're redoing now. So when somebody makes a booking, there's no double bookings taking place. If you're doing direct booking with clients, then that becomes a manual process, and your team goes in and they log in and then they block it out for you. But a good PMS system will actually provide all the syncing of calendars that you need. Okay. And that's required. I know a gentleman who has 22 properties. I was talking to him yesterday. I said, who are you using? And he was like, yeah, I'm going to hang up now. Like, no, you're not. And he doesn't have a PMS. He has 22 units. And when something books, he's going in and manually blocking different things.
That would be a good time to hang up.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. So you have to have a PMS system. That's very important.
That's good. So you challenged him on that, and I'm sure he challenged you on other things. That's great. So when it comes to the calendar syncing together, the other piece is, you got to balance short term and midterm. So how do you make do you prefer one or the other, and how do you make sure that you're preventing too many gaps in between stays?
I'm going to show you a picture here. This is I'm going to try to show it. Yeah, it should be able to. Okay. This is our calendar for this month. I don't know. Well,
let's see, a little closer and a little higher. Let's see. It's too. Yeah, that's good. I can see it. I can see all the colors. Yes. Now I can't hear you, so pull the phone back when you want to tell us about it.
Okay. So basically, the orange is direct booking. And
wow.
Yeah. So you see we work. That's it.
That's a lot of orange.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We work it, right? And it keeps going. You see, yeah. So orange is direct booking. Red is like Airbnb. Blue is verbal. Green is blocked. So we make sure, how do you prevent gaps? Well, you can't prevent a gap. You have to go right after the gap when it pops up. So, so if the person's checking out on Monday and the next one's checking in on Thursday, you cut the rate by 30% for those couple of nights, and you want to fill that. We don't take one night stays. We don't do 2 night stays.
It's a lot of work.
What's your minimum?
Yeah. 4.
Okay.
On average. We have probably like a 20% 3-night stay in a portfolio, but it's pretty much 4 and 5 across the board.
Okay.
Because, and a lot of people, I've debated this so many times, and it's okay. Everybody has their preference. A 3-night person is going to book a weekend and kill that whole week for you. A 4-night person, there's less 4-night people booking, but when those people book, they'll take 4, but that also leaves more time for the 30, 40, 60-night person to book as well. So, and there's a lot of weekend travelers. So you can have I've seen calendars where all the weekends are booked almost for 3 or 4 months.
And none of the days.
Right. Oh. And you see our days are straight across the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Furnished Finder, since we connect you directly with the travelers, then we just feed into direct bookings on your calendar. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a manual. That's a manual entry, which Brian's going to fix, right, Brian?
I think he's going to make sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
He's on it.
We have the clock ticking now.
Right. Okay. So no, go ahead.
What I was saying is the beautiful thing about the leads on Furnished Finder is I love the formula where they tell you who's direct messaging you and then somebody in your area. Now I love that because that means that number one, the direct person who contacted you, the direct message, it's like a 50% chance because they reached out to
Right,
you.
you're already halfway there.
Yeah, but the whole lead part, that's my favorite because that shows sales. Like
Me
you got to go
too.
close them. Like they're just browsing in your mall now. Like you got to go and bring them in. So I like that part of the business, and I think that it's a great feature because at least we know that there's some. We've had people who were looking in one city who just happened to be outside the 5 mile radius, and we literally had booked them to come on in. So that's a
Yep.
beautiful thing. I enjoy that.
So talk to us about furnishings. I'm assuming that some properties come to you completely blank. Some properties come to you maybe with some furnishings already in there if the owner has been, managing and booking themselves. What's your strategy and your approach to furnishings? Because we've talked to landlords in such a wide variety. That some landlords that do very basic to some landlords that get a lot more, luxury or specific. What's your take?
Man, experience, time. When I look back at my photos of my first places, they look like frat houses and college dorms. And I thought I was doing something with it. Are we doing well? And we were pretty booked. But and then you get better, with your design. So number one, somebody's paying for this place. So you want to give them something that they feel good about when they walk in, and you want them to rave about it and refer somebody. But also at the same time, it's a business. So you're going to have a lot of turnover. So there's a balance between giving them something lovely and something that's durable and that can take a little bit of a beating and a little wear and tear. So the general items are pretty much systematic: beds, couches, even some dining tables. We have like 3 or 4 different dining tables we pick. The aesthetics, the artwork, the art, the ornaments, the throws, and the way my team makes the beds and so forth like that. That's what makes it, each unit gives it a bit of life. So if a table, chair, or bed, something breaks, couch, we know how to replace that quickly. And then if an art piece worked, you could always change it, but that doesn't change the general feel of the apartment. When we furnish a place, we find one piece and then we build around that piece. So like if we found a picture of, of a mountain, a lady running up a mountain, we would furnish. Like we have an apartment where the lady, she looked like a Spaniard flamenco dancer. So we designed, right? So we designed the apartment kind of around the flamenco Spanish vibe, so then every
Very
room
cool.
goes, with itself. So when you walk in, you're not running into like all these different contrasts, and the photos tell a story. And then people are like, hey, we've had people say, yo, who designs for you? Or I love the design of your place. We're ready to book. So it's worth the little bit of time and effort. Now, I understand from the owner operators, listen, just put it in. They're just looking for a bed and a place to stay. That's true, but then you're eliminating the fact that they may want to return. Right.
It's a chance to stand out, right?
Yeah, stand out. Yeah, you first time to make a first impression, right? So yeah, give it, and
So-
it's really not that big of a difference. The pricing.
Where's your go-to spots for shopping?
IKEA, TJ Maxx, Ross. Where else do we go? Marshalls. That's my boss, Natalie, my daughter.
Ah,
Yeah.
hi Natalie.
Yeah. Yeah. IKEA, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Home Goods, and some boutique shops because we like to support local businesses.
Great.
So we'll find some boutique shops that have some things and be like, hey, now with the recession talk, we're buying furniture from other operators because everybody's jumping ship and selling their stuff. They're closing apartments. Yeah. Because they're fearful, and it hasn't happened yet, but they're fearful. They're shutting down. They're like, hey, I got full apartment. What do you want?
Where do you find those deals?
They find us.
Oh, they
find us.
contact
That's awesome.
you.
That's the
Okay.
best. That's
We're
the
not even out there looking
best.
for it. People say, hey, Robert, we're shutting down these buildings.
If you come across any in Texas, send them my way.
Yeah. They're running for the hills. So that's, you could buy some stuff there.
This is a
That's
fun time
awesome.
to add in one of the local shops that I get to support for our Belton and Temple property is we've got a couple on septic, and so then you have those obnoxious covers so that you can easily access the septic, or you go ahead and just cover it up and you put something on top of it so that it has a nicer look to it. So I've gotten into metal art, and so we have some really cute metal
there you
art
go.
pieces from that just add to the landscape of the background of the backyard from a store called Razzle Dazzle. And so I've got a donkey and some cactus, all sorts of metal art. The furnishing is fun. I love that part.
Another thing that operators are missing on is the decor that your cleaners, how they prepare your beds.
How
So
they
most
prepare your
people,
beds? Okay.
yeah, that is huge. Like I'm sure most people just make up a bed, pillow, just lay it out like kind of military style, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we sent our cleaners to bed university is what we call it, and we gave them a challenge that whoever designs the nicest beds would get and got the best review for it would get $25 to $50.
Oh,
And
nice.
what they came back with, let me see if I can show a picture here. What they came back with was was amazing. It was just they made ducks out of the towels. They spent 20 cents on these little flowers and they just put them around the bed. They put these little they make like these bouquets on the paper towel. And when I see the reviews, people come in and it's like, my God, like the attention to these little details made me feel so
Oh,
well, so happy when I
It's
came in.
huge.
And it cost us nothing. What is it? Well, it cost us
Yep.
$50 for the challenge, but what they got, I was trying to see. Yep, here's one right here. Let me see. Something as simple as this. Tell me, hopefully you can see this, but uh, and something as simple as this gave us a. Let me see.
little higher.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's
That's
beautiful.
awesome.
That's it. But all that is really a little ribbon around the quilt,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and they love that, and that is there's no cost to that. You just have to train your people, send them a couple of links on how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll just elevate the quality of your units.
Good advice.
So tell us more about how you manage your cleaners and anyone else who's on your team. Like give any operator or landlord some tips or best practices as far as like how to communicate and how to manage and how to form that team.
I'm laughing because I'm looking over across the table from me. I was wondering what she's thinking. But that's definitely my space, right? I believe in empowering your team. We believe that I lead with saying everything is resolvable. Something happens, it can be fixed. It's not the end of the world. And you have to empower your team and let them know that it's okay to make decisions. And we're a mistake company. We make mistakes here. We're fine with that. We make mistakes because we also learn how not to make that mistake. A
Mm-hmm.
mistake is just simply showing you the way not to do it, right? So empower your team, and so they feel comfortable to think on their own. So, well, first of all, you have to have an organizational chart. If you're one operator and you have 10 units, you should already have or be grooming your right hand person. So it'll be like, let's use 10 as an example, right? So if it's you and you have 10 units, one of your cleaners needs to be groomed already and being taught to become your pre-inspection manager.
Mm.
So they pre-inspect the jobs, pre-inspect before the guest arrives. That pre-inspection manager is also your restock person. And eventually, as you start adding more inventory, then they wind up becoming your guest communication manager, and then your next cleaner
Mm-hmm.
becomes a pre-inspection manager. You have to have a chart where you're growing your business in that manner. Now, some people say, I can't afford it. I got 10 units, I'll do it myself. I don't believe in that, simply for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're working, who's thinking, right? If you're working, who's thinking? That means you're just working on your business and you're working in it. You're not working on it.
It's
Mm-hmm.
running you.
Secondly, yeah, it's running you, right? Absolutely. Secondly, every time that you stop somebody from working because you want to keep the money yourself and you want to handle it yourself, you're blocking somebody's blessings. So that position,
Hmm.
that job that you're stopping is something that can be helping somebody because you want to have it all. But eventually you're going to burn out because if I
Mm-hmm.
would have went into that mentality when my first five, I remember when I had 5 units, 4 units. My daughter was actually there when we got our first reservation ever. And
Oh.
if I would have had that mentality, like I'm going to do all these units myself, I would never see daylight. I would be cleaning bathrooms for the rest of my life, right? Or or fixing light bulbs or whatever the case is. So, if you're working, who's thinking?
Mhm.
Then you're not serving your highest purpose of your business. You're not teaching somebody how to operate the business in the case of your absence, and absences happen. And then you're not grooming your soldiers to become generals and leaders. So then now what happens is, you have the big man syndrome and you're just running everything, but you really just have a bunch of people working for a job. Nobody has ownership mentality. Nobody feels that they're part of something bigger than them. and your retention goes down. You're losing people left and right because they don't have a commitment to you, because you really don't have a commitment to them.
I like your forward thinking there too, because you're saying even if you're not at the place where you can have, 2 cleaners or a pre-inspection manager, make a plan for how once you reach this point or this point, you will get there, right? Because I think that's huge, is to plan for more advanced than you are at this moment. Because then, like you said, you can keep thinking, you can keep figuring out how this is all going to work and how to make the most of it.
Right. And great. And also in the planning, start taking steps. Speak to your number one cleaner and say, listen, I want you to help me with restocking, and I'm going to give these bonus. And I'm thinking about adding somebody else on, and I wanted to know, would you train them? So if you're getting $100 of cleaning now, I'm going to give you $125. Okay, it's costing you $25 out of pocket, but you're in business. What do you think? You're not going to have an expense, right? It's investing into your company, into your team. It's actually investing into your life, because that person. I'll give you a great example. Right now, at this exact moment, during this fantastic interview with you two, they're building 7 apartments that I've never seen. I saw them when I got them. I have not walked in. Furniture is being delivered. My 2 pre-inspection managers are setting everything up with the cleaners. My maintenance team are in their building what they got to do. And they know not to call me. Not because I forbid them to call me, because I don't operate like that, but because I have so much trust. I'm going to say, listen, you guys got this.
They're empowered.
Actually, when I walk in, I want to be blown away. And whoever blows me away the most, we're going to go get pizza. Like, they feel so vested in what we're doing. And what's the worst case scenario, right? I get there, we change the artwork. Like, it's not that deep, right? So you have to, as you were saying, you have to have your plan. And every 12 to 15 units, you got to already start considering 1 or 2 new add-ons to your business. And if you're very streamlined and you could operate with lighter staff, more units, and you plan to grow, then don't think that if you have 10 units and 2 people, that 20 units is 4 people. And growth and exponential growth doesn't work like that.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it doesn't work like that.
So once the cleaners come in, now we have our trained person to review the inventory management. So what actually happens if they find something? What is your policy if they find something damaged or missing? What do you do for your company?
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. So the pre-inspection manager, well, actually the cleaners are front line. They get in, they start doing the work. They let the management know, hey, the managers know, hey, we're in the unit, they're doing the job. There's apps that track them when we get in, when we get out. If something's broken, they make a report. Hey, this is damaged. Then the report gets funneled up. Like, do we make a request for the guests, to pay for this damage? We probably go after 60% of our damages, if that. And some people say, nah, like, they broke that, they should pay for it. And I tell them, I'm like, listen, I understand that. And we have a policy kind of here, like an unwritten rule. It's like, it's going to be okay. First of all, we got a security deposit. That's number one. Secondly, if you have a security deposit, why do we need to make it so personal and get into a disagreement with the guest? Like, we're a business. Like, anybody who's doing that is operating in the wrong state of mind. So they'll come in, they'll report the damage of anything. The moment the damage is reported, it goes to the maintenance team. Maintenance team gets out there and goes buy what they got to buy. If it's something that, like, shades, door, whatever the damage is, our team is like, report. Is it immediate service? Is somebody checking in today? How urgent is the request? Meaning, how fast do we need to do it? Gets done. The next person walks in, they never knew what happened.
Great.
And then they document it.
Big conversation right now is with all of the bills going up with inflation and AC and heating costs going up. Do you cover all the AC and heating costs, or what measures do you take to make sure that you're streamlined there and no one is overusing just because it's a short-term rental?
A great one. We just got a bill. How much was that bill, Natalie? That electric bill, $1,100. So that right? Yeah, we just had somebody put a bill to us, and we're gonna go address this one. Well, first of all, there's a small utility stipend that all our guests pay, and then we let them know, you're paying this. This helps us keep the utility down. This helps us keep our utilities down. What if your utilities exceed 35% of the last bill we received, we will be removing that from the security deposit.
Okay.
Now people are on good behavior, so I'm not telling them, I'm charging them anything over 100. But if my last bill was 300 and your bill's 450, 150 is on you.
Good point. So this is more, and you may or may not choose to charge them in the end, but it's that ownership put back on them of, hey, I need to make sure I'm operating, just as I would my own house, not taking advantage of a short-term situation.
Right, because they will. In the winter, they'll turn the AC on and leave the windows open. Or they'll turn the heat blasting and leave the windows open. I'm sorry. So it's like, I don't get it, right? So what we do is we say, you're paying a little bit. You're giving us $150 for the month. Anything over this amount it's gonna come from the security deposit, and then you'll have to replenish your security deposit. I think we had it once to happen. It kind of, you set the tone already. It's not an expectation. We have an agreement.
Right. I think that's something that a lot of landlords have to figure out their system and wrap their head around with the midterms, right? Because it's not a short term where you're renting it for 5-6 days and you want, in and out and I'm done. It is more of a like, okay, you're going to put down a security deposit. It might not be an entire month's rent. You might pay some for utilities, but we might not be putting them in your name, right? Like, it's that middle ground, and there's a lot more shades of gray where I think property managers need to figure out the system that works for them and their portfolio, their properties, and like stick to it, because there is something to say, like you're implying, where tenants feel responsible and they feel like they're committed to the property.
Most people are good people, and if you deliver the message, nicely and straight and clear, they mostly and they agree to take the place, they already know what the agreement is. And it is true. Property managers, they have to look at the length of their lease. How long are we in on this deal for? And how do we reduce some of these numbers? If you have 50 properties and you cut your utilities down by $50 a month, you got $2,500. You multiply that over a year, you made a $30,000 revenue savings in your company just on 50 properties with a $50 thing.
Right.
Like it makes a big difference.
So speaking of numbers, let's go to pricing of your units. How do you figure out what to charge in rent? What kind of strategies, what kind of tools do you use? Because that's another kind of hot topic, is figuring out that number.
If Furnished Finder had a pricing tool, it would be great. I'm giving you all these suggestions because we need it. But
hey, we'll take them. We are a company that is open to all the suggestions.
We have pricing. We have dynamic pricing software that we use for our short-term markets and on other platforms, and we try to price our direct booking sites about 20%, 25% lower than what they're going. 20%, I'm going to say, than what they're going. So if it's a $2,000 rental, we might come in at 1,600, maybe 15%, simply because they're not booking on an OTA. So, they're booking directly with us. So we have to establish a trust factor, and we're going to get repeated months in a row. Now, some people say, well, why would I book it for 1,700 when I can get 2,000 on an OTA? Well, that also means that they might not stay the whole length. Through an OTA, they'll be able to cancel if something happens. And if you have them directly, you have a possibility to extend the stay a little bit longer. Plus, if your system is set up correctly, you have your administration costs as well. So if you have your administration costs included, then that gap shortens a little bit. So definitely you look at your dynamic pricing software, and then you moderate somewhere in that range. And you also have to look at what's out there in the market yourself. You have to do your research and then stay competitive. Don't be the cheapest guy in the block, and don't be the most expensive, but be where people want to pay for what you're giving them.
Right.
And they'll stay, and they'll refer, people.
Yeah. Love that. Kelly, what you got?
Definitely. My next question, because I love these systems. These are so helpful, and I want to thank you, Robert, for all your great feedback so far. Let's roll through some more. Receipt management and tax prep. Wow, my husband and I need a better system. So how do you make sure and stay organized with all of the furnishings and the rent payments and maintenance? What's your system?
It's the dreaded accounting word.
If you're in business, you have to let your CPA, well, if you're a larger company, you have a CFO controller, they have that in place. If you're a small operator or growing, you have to let your tax accountant know that you're in a business where you're spending pretty much sometimes daily. And let them know and understand that, see, money fixes a lot of things, right? Tell your tax preparer or your accountant or bookkeeper, I'm going to pay you a little bit more just to make sure that this is done right from the beginning to the end. And tell me what I need. What I did is I said, what do you need me to do? What do you need us to do? Because they were like, well, what do you want from us? And I'm like, I don't want anything. I just want it to be right. So what do you need from us? As the owner of the company,
Right.
I'm going to tell me what you need from us. We'll implement the systems, and then we'll get it to you so then we can just have our numbers right, quarter. Cam Scanner, which is an app on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you purchase something, you buy it, you put an address on it, boom, it goes into a file. It's a good source, so you never lose receipts.
That's smart.
Yeah, and then let them know, and then everybody in your team should have CamScan or whatever app you have. Everybody should have it, and teach your people. You have to give me my receipts. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Let your financial team know that you're a little bit volatile, so things are a little bit unorganized, not in a negative way, but just because we're always constantly moving and doing things in this industry, right? And so then they understand, so then they may be able to bring in the right things and the right pieces for what you're doing. And then talk to other operators and say, who do you use? Or what do you do? Like you guys just asked. But it's work, but it can be passed down, and everything's online now, right? Make sure that all your statements are online. We use PayPal a lot, so everything's on the app, so they could just go in and you could just print your whole report, your whole PayPal business. You can print your whole report. And they give you 2% cash back. So
Nice.
we make about $1,000 a month just on 2% cash back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. On furnishings, on the money we're paying, on the rents we pay, we get 2% cash back.
That's great. What about profit analysis? Is that Hostfully, or you have a different system that you track vacancies and profit analysis?
Yeah, we combine them all together. Hostfully is one. We have our own in-house with our own CFO and team, and we look at where we're at. I'm not so stringent on I gotta hit this number, right? I'm focused on rewarding if we get to these numbers, but my team and my company has to have a good quality of life, and if they have a good quality of life, we always hit our number. So maybe I figured something out there, or maybe it's just a group of people, and I mean this is Philadelphia, New York, and Miami, so I don't really think it's a group of people. I think it's really the system. But my job is, as a CEO, my job is the numbers, the culture of the business, right? The numbers, the culture of the business, and the talent that I bring aboard, and that all ties into the profit analysis. We analyze it, we look at it, but nobody loses a job because we don't hit a number. Because if somebody did lose a job, I would have to lose my job first, because it was really my responsibility.
So with all the variety of doors that you have, when things come up for cleaning or for contractors, or something that needs to be done, what's your system for giving access to the home to keep it safe for your renters? And same thing, short-term renters are coming in every 4 days, it sounds like, potentially. So how do you make sure everyone's safe with your access?
Right, great question. So now everything, we're still actually changing a lot of our properties to a digital code system, where you can just change them as people come in and go. So for example, for cleanings, we have a cleaning manager who coordinates with the guests who are staying for more than 30 days. So they make the appointments, the schedules, they come in and go, they work it out with them directly. So there's an open line of communication between the cleaning manager and the guest, and accessibility, granted accessibility.
Okay.
Hi, I'm available at 4 p.m. this day. And then they'll coordinate and they make it happen. So it's not just random show-ups. When it comes down to somebody checking out and somebody else checking in, we'll be able to change the key code. And once or twice a year, sometimes we just randomly go through and change the locks as well.
Okay.
because you never know, somebody makes, and then with
Yeah.
digital people, they can't make a copy of it, of course, but it's just some of the process. But eventually, I think in 2023 we hope to be fully digital. Even with they have this new service now. It's not even new, but some of our bigger properties have them on site where they're, you have to have an email, phone number, and name, and then a valid state ID, and it's like a verification process before the system sends you the check-in information.
Okay.
So it makes sure that the person making the reservation is actually the person making the reservation.
I like that. I think I just have one last question for this section, and that would be HOAs and the looming short-term rental restrictions that are popping up all over the country in different cities. So how are you navigating, one, analyzing HOA to know that it is a good fit for whatever style you're wanting to accomplish. And then the same thing, keeping up with city laws and making sure, whether you're doing short terms, midterms, and I don't think you do any long terms, do you?
Yeah, we have a long-term portfolio.
You have some?
Okay. Yeah, we have some because some areas aren't viable yet for corporate or short term. So to answer your question, how are we navigating through that very carefully? When I got into this business in 2012, 2013, that wasn't even a thought, right? And then you start blowing up in certain cities, and then the city. I've been through 3 shutdowns. I got shut down in Madrid, shut down in New York, I got shut down in Union City, New Jersey. So we have portfolios that literally overnight just disappeared. And that taught me how to now pay attention to this. Not only pay attention, we're part, like for example, we support and we sponsor the advocates who are and the lobbyists who are lobbying in favor of the short-term and corporate rental market here in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's smart.
We cut checks because they're on the front line fighting the fight that ultimately affects our business. So operators should be very aware of what legislation is trying to be passed, and don't just sit back and say, it's not going to affect me. Your business could disappear like this and to be gone. And once the bill's passed, you got to, so you have to know what's going on. You may not be the one advocating changes, or you may not be the one fighting on your behalf, but those agencies and lobbyists or groups that are, you need to support them in getting the word out and support them financially where it requires, because this is your business. That's important. Which HOAs in the beginning was just slam your door in my face. They would just know. But now, since we do 30-day rentals, like we're a lot of the HOAs are now saying you could only do 30-day rentals, nothing less. And so we'll do 12 30-day rentals in a year. So there was a loophole there, but they're happy with it. And we literally said, well, what do you need? Yeah, what do you need us to comply? We want to know who's coming. We want to know a background check, and it's not under 30 days. Okay, so those things are what we do anyways. So now we used to shy away. A couple of years ago, we shied away from HOAs. Now we go knock on the door because most operators are knocking on their door because they think it's an automatic no, which is fine.
Good point.
We're gonna knock on the door.
What happened in those 3 cities? Did you shift them from short term to midterm?
Well, when the bills passed, we wrote out the agreements that we had in these buildings. We kept New York. We shifted directly to midterm. Union City, we closed. Madrid, we had left, so that was fine too.
Okay.
But you have to pivot with what happens. And some people say, well, I'll still operate it under the radar. Nobody knows. That's fine. Many people can do that. We're at a point now where we can't operate under the radar. Right. We get attention, so we make sure that we try to do everything as best as possible.
I feel like there's a balance to it, right? Like you don't have all one type. You have some short term, you have some midterm, you have some long term, which means when you need to pivot, you're already established in that market. So you can take I'm assuming you could take a short term property.
You hit it right on the head.
Or maybe a property that you use for short term and midterm. And if you had to make that midterm only, I feel like you could do that in your sleep.
Right, because we already have a midterm base because we believe in traditional sales. So
and you've set that ground, right? The foundation is there.
Right, exactly. So we operate like on as long as the body is filling the apartment. Like let's just put people in there and get paid for it, and we'll operate in whatever. And if one of the owners says, listen, some of the neighbors are complaining a little bit, we'll be like, you know what, all right, we're just going to convert this to nurse rental for a couple of months. Just calm it down. Whatever we need to do to keep the business growing, and being creative and opening new doors, and that's what we're doing. We have a very, very massive expansion plan for the next couple of years. I'm super excited about it. And I'm only able to think like that because we can pivot. Something happens, you can make, and because of the amazing team that I have as well.
Love it.
Me too.
Kelly, I think we can go to our final few questions.
Yep.
If he has anything yeah.
Yeah, so our next section is called Furnished Finder Favorites. And Robert, when you and I connected before this interview, you said there's some things you want to pass along to landlords that they should be doing through Furnished Finder. Some of them was communications, professionalism, and social media. So why don't you share with landlords what you find best about Furnished Finder and how to really maximize your value?
So communication. When you have to engage the people that are your leads or direct messaging. And, we drop the ball sometimes, but you have to engage, reach out to them in a friendly manner, but let them know that, their request is important. I couldn't even tell you how many, because I still do a lot of the sales myself because it's short, because how do we create a system and pass it down if, we're not involved, right? So I couldn't even tell you how many people say, oh my God, like nobody else has responded to me from Furnished Finder.
Right.
I get that a lot.
Which is not on Furnished Finder. That's on owners and travelers. Come on, guys. Exactly. Let's make sure and respond to everyone who asks us a question.
Right, exactly. Right. So yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, not that the platform isn't responding. The request that's coming into the job that they did by bringing you a lead, then it wasn't responding. So communication is very important, that you reach out to them. And then after you reach out to them, if they respond, you go to closing. You got to have a system, right? It's communication, reach out, they respond to you, you lead them to your interest in your first communication to them. When you say, hey, I see that you're interested in this property, it is available, and so are these. And then you send them your other links. Now you keep them in your package, right? And then you start narrowing it down to close them to get them to close. That's usually important. Also, if you're not available, hey, this place is not available, but these are. You'd be surprised at who you can get to convert to another property. So you want to close that deal. So, and then make sure that your email header is professional. That's important. The template that Furnished Finder has in the bottom, fill that out correctly. So, so it's always a professional manner how they see it, and always include your links to where they can find you. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to put them back out there into an ocean of listings to find somebody better than you, or available, or price better, or just not even better, a different choice.
Right.
Once they reach out to you, you have a high possibility to close them because they reached out to you. Operators need to know that, and we've gotten this through surveys we've done with guests. When they send you that message that they're interested, they put a lot of research into that. They've talked to their spouse, their partner, their children, they've looked at the area, then they reach out to you, and then you don't even get back to them. So communication is huge.
It's it reminds me of what you said, where you can't put it out there and just sit back and hope something pops in your inbox that says, well, okay, all done. Like, Furnished Finder is a platform that's meant to be used, right? You need to get on there, you need to dig in, you need to communicate, you need to update. Like, it's like a dating site you don't put up a profile on a dating site and you never go on it again, right? Like, you need to get on there.
And what I love about it is that they created a platform that is engaging. There's now that the app is out, you can communicate direct messaging. So we have all the tools we need to create a solid source of and then they have the trustee badge, which as well, to help level, the security part for people who may not know, but you have to communicate. So operators, you have to communicate. Yep.
Verified owner badge. Yes, sir.
Verified owner. Right, exactly.
On that communication piece, this is something that I do that I don't think I've shared on the show yet, and I'm sure Robert probably does as well. if they're reaching out to you, my assumption is they've also reached out to other landlords, and they're just going through, saying, is this available? Is this available? Potentially. So I always make sure and put the link to my Furnished Finder listing, or, in Robert's case, he would put the link directly to that property on his website probably. So that they're not having to go figure out, well, what property was that again that we're communicating about? And Furnished Finder does connect those pieces, but since you don't always see both sides, like you have no idea what the traveler's seeing, and the traveler has no idea what the landlord's seeing. So I always just take that extra step to put the link in my messages so that they know, hey, this is the property we're communicating about right here.
Actually, so if you we do like to send the Furnished Finder link, because that when they open it, they see it. Sometimes when we're on a mobile, we screenshot the request. Say, hi, because there's a lot of spam taking place, right? So to keep it in professionalism, hi, we're responding to your request. We see that you requested something on Furnished Finder. We pasted the photo below of your request so they know it's them. And then under that is the link. Click, tell us when are you available to speak? We'd be happy to help you. I'm looking forward to hosting you. That's it. Now they're like, okay, this is legitimate. And then they go from there. And then in social media as well. If you have corporate housing, if you're trying to meet, we were having this conversation now, if you have inventory and you want business travelers, then you have to go find them. And business travelers are also on LinkedIn. And I realize so many operators are not on LinkedIn. And this is where the corporate world is communicating with each other. So, create your LinkedIn profile with a couple of links of your property and say, this is what we do. So when you reach out to these people who are saying, hey, I'm coming in for business, and you reach out to them and you include your LinkedIn profile in your email, once the message is sent, they're going to go and verify you. And the beautiful thing is LinkedIn shows you who's looking at your page, right? And then so they'll verify you, and then you have a higher chance to close the gap with the business traveler. We have and I'm very happy to say this, we have our record-breaking year this year.
Congratulations.
From a request from Furnished Finder. It came in from Furnished Finder, and I posted it 2 months ago, and I was super excited, and it's just kept going. Like the sale that we started has multiplied all the way through. And it came from one person who said, hey, I see you have some listings. If you get back to me, please. And immediately we jumped on it, and again, it's a game changer.
And I believe, do you have a network of Furnished Finder business professionals that work together around the country?
Well, I have a network of operators, right? That I've actually said, listen, you need to go on this website and get your listings up and running. But what I would like is, I really would like to have a network of operators around the country who have X amount of portfolio, who operate on a professional level. So when my corporate clients come in and say, hey, we're looking for 40 apartments for 90 days, 20 apartments for 60 days, I have a network of operators that I can reach out to and say, hey, listen, we have somebody. They pay us, we pay you, we close the deal. We're gonna be running that on our website called livingquarters.net, and we're going to operators to bring their inventory. So then the money and time and energy that we put into marketing to business travelers, it doesn't just have to be for our portfolio of properties. If you have a portfolio of property, we will send them your way as well. So if you are interested in that, however my information is on this podcast, look us up, because we're going to be launching that in 2023, and it's livingquarters.net, and our information is on there.
That's actually a great point to go ahead and wrap up this episode and say, if someone does want to reach out to you, we've already communicated your website, but how would you like them to connect with you?
Oh, great. They can go to livingquarters.net. That's where we're going to be having our networker of operators. They can also go to cohostexpert.com. Need some updating, but you can find all our information there. You can also email me at Robertin, Robertin, as in Nancy, at cohostexpert.com. And I'll be happy to work with you, network with you, and build with you, and continue to rise the tide together, to the highest point as possible. Because this is an amazing industry. It's changed my life. It's changed my children's life. And we plan to be in here making an impact for many, many more years, hopefully generations to come.
Well,
I love it so much.
Thank you.
I admire
This is great.
your business portfolio, and for those of you that didn't catch it, maybe on the title of this episode, Robert has 64 and more listings with Furnished Finder, and we just want to say thank you. We appreciate that, and so we're so happy to be part of your journey and connecting you with those corporate travelers and medical professionals. Um, just any reason that someone's traveling. So if anyone wants to see his properties on Furnish Finder, just know at the beginning of this episode on YouTube, we put the link, his Furnish Finder link to his profile page at the beginning. And then also, sometimes you can just go ahead and go to your profile and replace your name with their name, and that works. But it doesn't always work that way. So just go to the YouTube is probably the easiest for this episode. And we'll put it in the show notes as well, or do our best to do that. But we really appreciate it, Robert. We thank you for being here. And if you're liking our podcast, we're just telling stories from anywhere from somebody with one property up to 64 plus properties on Furnish Finder. We just want to tell a variety of stories so we can all encourage each other. So go ahead and subscribe, or if you want us to talk about any specific things, then comment on YouTube. So thank you so much for being here today, Robert. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for providing such a valuable resource for all the operators out there. This is so important. And like you said earlier, opening, there's no competition. There's plenty of room for everybody to grow and become one.
Yep, we all work together.
Yes, we do. Thank you.